Xi and Putin to reunite in Beijing in show of solidarity as divisions with the West sharpen. When Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping met in Beijing for the opening of the 2022 Winter Olympics, they confidently outlined their vision for a new international order no longer dominated by the United States and its democratic allies. Now, nearly 2 years on, and with geopolitical fault lines hardening globally, the world's two most powerful autocrats are preparing to see each other again in the Chinese capital. The meeting comes under the shadow of conflict, with Russia's grinding invasion of Ukraine, launched just 3 weeks after the leaders' last get-together in Beijing, and Israel's war against Hamas, which now threatens to escalate regionally. Both Beijing and Moscow have criticized Israel's actions in response to a shock attack by Palestinian militant group Hamas last week and called for a ceasefire, in the latest showing of the two powers' efforts to step up their alternative leadership to that of the United States, which affirms Israel's ongoing right to retaliate. Xi and Putin are likely to discuss the situation during a meeting this week as Putin arrives as a guest of honor at the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, an exceptionally rare foreign trip for the diplomatically isolated leader. Heads of state, representatives and delegations from more than 140 countries are expected to attend China's landmark, 2-day diplomatic event beginning Tuesday, which marks 10 years since the start of Xi's global infrastructure funding drive, and presents the Chinese leader with an opportunity to project Beijing's growing global ambitions. A rare trip. Putin, who has seldom left the bloc of former Soviet nations since launching his war, is shunned by the West and wanted by an international court for alleged war crimes. Experts say he is also unwilling to travel anywhere he feels his personal security can't be absolutely assured. He made his first known trip of the year outside of Russian-controlled territory last week, with a visit to Kyrgyzstan. But despite Putin's changing circumstances since his last time in Beijing, the two leaders have become increasingly aligned in presenting an alternative worldview to the one offered by the West, as they seek to bring more countries alongside their efforts to shift a global balance of power they feel is stacked against them. Chinese leader Xi Jinping speaks at the China Central Asia Summit held this past May in Shenzhen, Beijing to host global gathering as Xi Jinping lays out China's vision. In an interview with China's state broadcaster ahead of the event, Putin lavished praise on Xi, calling the Chinese president steady, calm, pragmatic and reliable, a true world leader, and hailing his unique approach of dealing with other countries that has shown no imposition or coercion, but rather provided others with opportunities. Putin and Xi, who frequently refer to their close friendship, have met 40 times in the past decade, including twice since the start of the war in Ukraine. During their previous meeting in Beijing, the two men released a 5,000-word joint statement declaring a friendship with no limits and underscoring their deep alignment against the West. Attending the forum will be a significant opportunity for Putin to achieve international exposure, and show that Russia still has a strong friend in China, said Li Mingjiang, an associate professor of international relations at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University. And for China, having an important international player like Putin to join the BRI summit is also politically important, he added. Otherwise, the forum, the crowning event of Xi's diplomatic year, is largely expected to include leaders from less influential developing and middle-income nations. No limits no more? Russia's invasion of Ukraine put the growing China-Russia relationship to the test like no other event in recent history, placing Beijing under heavy scrutiny from Western nations for its close ties to its northern neighbor and raising questions about whether Xi had advanced knowledge of Putin's plan. Beijing has since claimed neutrality in the conflict and called for peace, in recent months ramping up efforts to be seen as a potential peace broker, as concerns about its close ties with Russia further strained its relations with Europe and the United States. But the world's second-largest economy has also become a key lifeline for a sanction-ridden Russia, which is now dependent on it for goods and energy purchases, and the two countries have deepened their interactions across a range of areas since the start of the war.